And we've got to acknowledge we get frustrated as instructors on various things. And I think it's just, I'm interested to kind of put out there and share with people what potentially some of the frustrations we find or come across or kind of deal with, whether it be in actual kind of class content and material and student interactions, or just seeing trends in the marketplace. And I'll give you an illustration from my world sort of on that one, that there's this kind of very accepted format of like a 1 to 2 day survival course. You know, it's on a weekend, it's when people are sort of off work and they want to kind of go out and relax, enjoy themselves. But that's actually an incredibly small time frame to try and cover in a well-rounded manner the basics of wilderness survival. So my frustration is you're tending to be running through the foundations really quickly, which doesn't set you up for conducive sort of competence later on, because naturally once the student's done the basic course, they want to go to the next level straight away, and it's difficult to convince them, actually guys and girls, really with that timeline you need to be doing a basic course 2 or 3 times before you're remotely near understanding the foundations, the concepts, the principles, and being able to practically apply that in various circumstances. So time constraint is always a big one for me. But I fully appreciate people won't take a week off work to go do a basic survival course, so it's my job as an instructor to kind of game around that. But it's also people's perception of, and I think this ties into the online world a little bit, how fast they think they can learn something. And I always say on the survival skills, you know, they're very simple, but that doesn't mean they're easy. And there's so much nuance in there and so much that can change with weather, with topography, with environment, with the group, that, you know, you never light the same fire twice almost. And it's the exposure to those different circumstances that gives you competence. So time constraint is a big frustration of mine. And I'm just kind of really curious in your respective kind of worlds, or just being students as well as instructors as we are, what else you come across?
I think one of the things that I have constantly dealt with is the balance between competence and confidence. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about survival skills, which self-defense is, there's a certain level of confidence that you want your students to have, whether or not they are confident. Now, for you doing the wilderness stuff, it may be different. I do not know. I do know that there's a selection process that criminals go through. They read people's confidence levels. And it happens that even a false confidence can, doesn't necessarily, but can be an aid to that. We know, I don't know if you're familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect. I believe everybody here is, which basically unskilled and unaware of it. The study shows that the people with the lowest level of competence in any given skill tend to estimate their skills as being above average, sometimes well above average. Flip side of that, the people who are well above average often estimate their own confidence or own competence to be at the 50th percentile or below. This has huge implications for us. If we want to keep our students moving forward in competence, we have to show them, hey, you know what, you're actually way down here, there's so much more. But as soon as we do that, their confidence level is going to drop. I don't necessarily want their confidence level to drop. I simply want to start bringing their competence up. And so for me, that's a constant struggle. As with you, you know, I find the time constraints of a weekend is just unbearable at times. You know, you're trying to cram 80 hours of material into a 16-hour class, and it's just tough.
My turn, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Within the field, I think the biggest thing is that people are selling answers without looking at the problem.
Mm.
Oh,
They're,
yes.
They're telling people what to do. And when you've got, you know, a massively huge guy who's been training for 30 years telling a small older person who's having a one weekend how to handle a problem, they tend not to be looking at the student's point of view. And if you haven't studied bad guys, some of the stuff that you're teaching is probably inaccurate. When people are bringing military arts and trying to adapt them for self-defense, it's about killing an enemy. This is not about civilian self-defense. When they take older stuff, because the basic breakdowns, most of the arts are pretty efficient, or either pretty old, that's how we know they're efficient, they've lasted so long, or military arts, because they need to be efficient. And other than almost all the other ones I know that I'm really think are effective were invented by criminals. and those have to be adapted a little bit. So when people are using bad source information, or they aren't questioning their source information, or they're trying to adapt instead of looking at what they need, I find that incredibly frustrating. Tactical shooting is unrelated to defense shooting.
Breach it.
It's tactical shooting is what bad guys would use if they were being smart. But the actual making a draw under close contact fighting is not what we did when we stacked up on a door and came in. Just different.
It's a different skill set, a different context.
Right, and
Yeah.
when you try to take something from that skill set and context, because you can be really, really good at A, and well, I'm really, really good at A, so maybe I can teach B too, is like hiring a really, really good jet fighter to teach your submarine people how to drive their submarines. It's, you know, they're good, but it's not the same skill. So that's one of the frustrations, one of the huge ones. Time constraints, I spend more time trying to show people how to think than what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows me to get around that a little bit. And it's one of the things I like about the way you teach survival too, is you're what's your word, non-prescriptive.
Yeah.